Spirituality is that which gives us the strength to go on, for it is the assurance that God is in the struggle. Spirituality spells out our connectedness to God, our human roots, the rest of nature, one another, and ourselves. In this way, in 1994, the Third World theologians redefined spirituality and began our thinking about right relationships. Today, let us reflect on Mary as she struggles with the unknown in her life and in her world. The modern-day poet Adrienne Rich has written in her book 21 Love Poems, "We're out in a country that has no language, no laws, chasing the raven and the wren through gorges unexplored since dawn. Whatever we do together is pure invention. The maps they gave us were out of date by years." In recent years, we have experienced a global financial meltdown and epic natural disasters. We see the demographic map of Canada shift with fewer children and more older people, and we watch the face of family change. There is increasing poverty in our world, with the richest 20% of people holding 83% of the world's wealth, and the poorest 20% of people holding less than 2% of the world's wealth. There is growing violence among us in terrorism, in human trafficking, and in family abuse. The Arab Spring and Occupy Wall Street movements are signs of growing unrest. Our space is dominated by social media, from the iPhone to email to Facebook to Twitter. How can a peasant woman from the 1st century teach us about living with and responding to this uncertainty in the 21st century? Mary's Jewish tradition has a wonderful Hebrew phrase, tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. We have a shared responsibility with our Creator to heal, repair, and transform the world. And so we ask, how did Mary respond in the face of uncertainty and unknowing? How did Mary heal, repair, and transform her world? Mary faces so much that is unknown. A young peasant woman is asked by an angel to become the mother of God. Close to the time of the child's birth, she is forced to travel to Bethlehem for a census ordered by the Roman authorities. She and her husband are poor, alone, and without support as she prepares to give birth in a stable. While there, she is visited by shepherds who speak about angels singing in the night, and by wise ones from the east who bring strange gifts. The persons she meets in the temple tell her that her son will have a powerful but uncertain destiny, and that a sword will pierce her soul. One of the young family's first acts together is to flee into Egypt to escape the tyranny of the King Herod, who is determined to kill their son. Her adult son leaves his widowed mother and goes about his ministry, telling bystanders that his mother can be identified not by her blood relationship with him, but by her faith in God. Her son is crucified as a criminal. Friends tell her that her son has risen from the dead. She joins these same friends as they experience the power of the Spirit poured out on them by a God who expects them to found a new church community. In the face of such uncertainty, how does Mary respond? Mary makes her own decisions with deep thought. At the Annunciation, she questions and then says yes. After every episode with her young child, she reflects on what is being said. When her son becomes an adult, she challenges him to begin his public ministry. She stands by the cross of her dying son, supporting him in his last moments. She stands by his disciples at Pentecost, supporting them in the first moments of their new community. By her actions, Mary teaches us to reflect, to ask penetrating questions, to be contemplative. Mary accepts the complexity of family life. From Matthew's Gospel, we learn something of Joseph's response when he finds that Mary is pregnant, and they have to work out a difficult beginning to their marriage. She accepts Joseph's decisions based on the appearances of angels in his dreams, even as she asks him to accept her conceiving by the Spirit. She is widowed early, losing her husband before Jesus begins his public life. Her family life was like the family life of all of us, times of joy and sadness, of uncertainty and hope, of struggle and love. Mary stands with those whom society does not always value: older people, poor people, foreigners, and women. When Mary becomes pregnant, the first one she reaches out to is her older cousin Elizabeth. When she gives birth, she learns from two older persons in the temple, Simeon and Anna. The first visitors to come after the birth are shepherds from the fields and foreigners from faraway lands. She enjoys being in the company of women, among those who stay with Jesus in his dying and those who join the company of disciples at Pentecost. Mary knows her own religious tradition, with its history of slavery in Egypt, wandering in the wilderness, exile to Babylon, loss of the land and return to the land, loss of the temple, and subjection to foreign powers. That same religious tradition teaches her that God chooses a poor and lowly people, rescues them from oppression, brings them into a land flowing with milk and honey, values older and younger people, pours out the Spirit on women and men. She knows that the best description of God is in God's own words, the God who is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. In all of this, Mary is no different from you and me. We share her uncertainty, her fear, and her anxiety. Most of us, like her, are not born into rich and powerful families, but we are all called to be women and men who co-create with God places of justice and peace. Like Mary, we make our own choices with thought and reflection. We accept the complexities of family life. We stand with those who do not have a voice. We know our own religious tradition in all its shadows and light. We can and we must heal, repair, and transform our world.